The Kremlin spars with UKR president over whether Vlad is still even alive. Yes, this is what is being talked about. It appears that UKR's president is just straight up reading the tabloids or something. It says that nearly a year into Vlad's full-scale conflict against UKR, the Kremlin has gotten into a bizarre bickering match with UKR's leader over whether or not Vlad is still even there. It said that the squabble started with UKR President Vladimir Zelensky telling an audience at Davos that he's not entirely convinced that the Russian leader is still among the living. This was actually at the Davos meeting. This is nuts. It says that I don't quite understand who to speak with about what. I'm not sure the president of Russia, who sometimes appears against a green screen, is the right one. Now, I just want to point out, this was something that was talked about by, I believe, what was this, Redacted and Hit, for saying the same thing before. Now you have the actual UKR president saying it. So this is pretty wild. We'll talk about this and much, much more. Tonight, we have a wild show for you because there is a lot going on. People need to start getting prepared, in my opinion. I'll tell you why in just a bit. We'll be right back right after this with all of your current events and much, much more. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, and then Shannon, I'm sorry I could not answer as we were going live, but I did get your message, and I have heard you. What is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Real quick, while I'm thinking about it, I just asked for some prayers. I'll talk about it a little bit later, but BOD, a very long-time Foogle family member, needs prayers. She is in the hospital again, and her and Shannon have been great members for a very, very long time. They ran our California group when we had our state groups before the Discord was taken down. Very, very sweet people. They are incredibly funny. Of course, if you remember, Shannon used to do the Darth Vader call-ins. Really, really funny guy, and his wife is really amazing. They are just really, really in need of prayer. So if you do that, or if you want to send positive thoughts or whatever you want to send them, you can. But yes, if you can, pray for, of course, BOD and her quick recovery. So if you've never been here before, this is a live show. Anything can happen. I can get a live call, of course, and we could also have a ton of things pop up while the show is going on. So any new stories breaking out, we will add to the show. But everything that we already have here is actually going to be on the website. Now, when you go to our website, you'll see it's very easy to navigate. It is all done by thumbnail. So you'll just look for, it won't be a proxy for long, and that is something I mean. Again, when you see that thumbnail, you will be able to click on that, and it will bring you to every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we are going to show you here today. On top of having a full bibliography of every single article and a source with it, you also have a ton at the very bottom. There is the overflow, and that is all of the stuff that we could not fit into a 2-hour time period, or it's too hot to touch. So make sure to head down there. There is a great amount of stuff that, again, can't be covered on all platforms. So, and then also remember, if we're not live for any reason, earlier this week we had somebody over doing our audio. Again, make sure to go check out the friends list. marfooglenews.com/friends has tons of great channels, all of our mods. If you don't have yourself subscribed to all the mods, they are all great people. Make sure to do so. All right, and then let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So, first of all, we won't go too deep into this because this is by far one of the smallest things here. But that's how crazy this is when you have Vlad from UKR basically questioning whether Vlad is alive. This is weird. It's definitely weird. There's all sorts of weird things going on here. But again, I'm kind of in disbelief because over a month ago, I think it was redacted that ended up like getting a week-long thing for that. Now that it's in the news, they really can't do that, right? Now that it's being said by him, it is. But it's just weird. This was something that was talked about like a month ago. Is he still alive? Is it a double? All this kind of talk. This is very odd, and frankly, we don't know what's really going on, but we do know that big things are in the works. We just had this big meeting of all of the elites. In fact, all of the very important people were there, except for the two people that really kind of, spearheaded the thing. You had Soros and you had Schwab not there. It's very weird. It is, of course, it went on and lots of people were, clipping parts of like Al Gore speaking. And what the public sees is this kind of like, oh, we want to save the world. But what they don't see is the behind doors, closed meetings with all of these world leaders and CEOs. Remember, there was about 2,500 guests and over 5,000 soldiers. So basically 2 soldiers for every guest. And out of those 2,500, it was, I think, 53 world leaders. And then the rest, it was like something like 600-700 CEOs and then their guests, right? So it was way outweighed. This is how business is running the world. It's not, the corporate scheme is running things, not our leaders. Of course, for every world leader, there was probably at least 10 or 17 or 25 companies that was putting money in their pockets. At least that's my opinion. Let me know what you think. Dex, so first of all, the Zelensky thing, and then, of course, we're going to be getting into America actually hit its debt limit today. And we found some interesting things about that as well.
Yeah, there's been some rumors floating out from various sources, one of them being SVR and others that talk about him using a double. But of course, we always talk about that with all high profile people we suggest or people have suggested that they have a double. It's always a rumor, but they were putting out some very specific claims about specific events that were doubled and how that person had performed. So it's kind of interesting. I guess that's where UKR Zelensky is actually going with this and really hitting it. I don't know why he's hung up on it, but unless he really believes it. But rather interesting, I think, coming from a president of a country.
Well, he also played one on TV, so we'll see what happens there. And then we've talked about this the last few nights. America was going to hit its debt limit. Now it has. It's happened, and they did not raise, as of now, I don't believe they raised the debt limit or the debt, whatever the ceiling is. We wanted to point out, before the show, we looked at who the top 5 were, because I actually was wondering, is it China? It is actually not. Number one, holder of U.S. national debt is actually Japan, which kind of makes you think as well. Like, it's surprising that they actually own, I think they own, as of May 2022, 122 trillion. And then China's right behind that with something almost $1,000 trillion or something. What was that? Is it a trillion or is it 120 trillion? It's not 120 trillion. That can't be right.
It's 1 trillion.
Yeah.
It's 1.3 for Japan and 1 for G.
Yeah. So $1 trillion that we owe. Over all of these other countries in the world, China is one of the largest owners of U.S. debt. Above them is actually Japan, which is kind of surprising, but not. We always think of it as such a small country, but such a huge debt to them. And then Not surprisingly, I guess surprisingly, it's weird because they listed in two different ways, but they actually have it listed like with Luxembourg as number 3 or 4, or United Kingdom with number 3 at $634 billion, Switzerland, and then it actually has, and it is either Luxembourg or Ireland as number 4 or Luxembourg, and then they show the Cayman Islands being number 5. The Cayman Islands, isn't that where shady people hide their money? How is that the number 5 owner of U.S. national debt? Either way, but that makes up that huge number that we basically can't figure out where, how to raise this ceiling, because this is who we owe in billions of dollars. So it's just kind of funny because Cayman Islands is kind of like where you think of in every movie. They go, we'll put it offshore in a Cayman Islands account, right? Well, apparently Cayman Islands owns a big chunk of the United States, and maybe it's the rich elites hiding their money there and then using that hidden money to then buy America. It's kind of funny. Sounds like a laundry machine, but, whatever. And then, Dex, as far as this goes, is there any update on, like, what happens now? Do we have a time frame of when things start? Do they shut down? What happens now?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that will happen over time as we are now in this phase where we don't have any credit that we can spend our money or spend money with. So the effects of that we'll probably see in the coming weeks and maybe 30 days significantly, but it might even be resolved before then. But at the moment, it doesn't look that good. At the moment, there's still like this standoff between the current president and Congress. And obviously, Congress is now controlled differently. So there's, I'm sure the way politicians work is they're just waiting to get, what they want in a package deal and concede and give the other side what they want in a package deal and then move forward. But this is their chance to get something, which they have never gotten anything in quite a long time. So I imagine they're holding out for a laundry list at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But the other way to look at this is we spend 120% of what we make. So for every dollar our country produces, we spend $1.20 to run it. So we're not necessarily in the positive. We're always in the negative, and we just continue to grow the negative. But I think everybody knows that because we talk about the national debt just continuing to balloon, administration over administration, decade over decade. It seems like it never really stops growing.
No, it doesn't. And by the way, lots of funny comments. Yeah, Cody Wee says technically fiat currency is monopoly money. At this point, we have no more credit. Our credit has run out. It's kind of scary to think about that the United States has been just kind of on this downhill spiral culturally, financially, in every economic sense. We have, just been hitting a wall. So this is not something that is good. Many of us, though, have seen this coming from a million miles away. Most people are going to get caught off guard for this. Most people are just doing their 9 to 5, keeping their head down, keeping their head in their phone, and make sure to, stay distracted. But unfortunately, we are headed towards a precipice that really can't be, come back from. So I hope people are preparing. I hope people are stocking up while they can. We actually talked. If you haven't watched last night's episode, that was very interesting, pulling up kind of the rules and what they can do as far as tell you not to prep and to keep too much. So remember, just keep it to yourself. And then Alec Baldwin and Rust Armorer to face criminal charges over the 2021 fatal movie shooting. So, everybody debated whether, because he was handed something, they basically said that person's position was to confirm that it was safe, confirm that it was fireable, whatever else, and then hand it to him. And then he does it, and he ends up, taking the life of somebody and almost taking another. It was just one, right? It was just the one person, but the other guy ended up having a pretty serious injury as well. It says Alec Baldwin and armor Hannah Gutierrez Reed will face criminal charges for the October 21st, 2021 shooting of Rust cinematographer Helena Hutchins, the Santa Fe District Attorney said this morning. Close to 16 months after Baldwin took the life of Hutchins and wounded the movie's director Joel Souza with a loaded weapon on the set of India Western Rust, New Mexico 1st Judicial District Attorney Mary Cormack Eltwise today finally unveiled her decision as to who should be charged and not charged in the tragic incident. It says, after a thorough review of the evidence and the laws of state of New Mexico, I have determined that there is sufficient evidence to file criminal charges against Alec Baldwin and other members of the Rust film crew. The thing is even though this person's in charge of handing it to him, and she was the daughter of a famous armorer, which before any of this, I bet 99% of you did not know what an armorer was. But their position is to handle all of the prop weapons, and her dad was like the cream of the crop, like the best in the business, and she basically got her job, self-admitted too. She said it on these recorded clips of her saying like, oh, I'm going to lose my job, and I basically got handed this position, and she screwed up. But he was the boss of the whole production, so he was responsible for her. Then in turn, it's kind of the circle, and now he might be charged. What do you think about him actually being charged for it, given the circumstances? Everybody followed this for a week. It was a huge distraction during, I forget what, there was like something really important that was going on at the same time, but all that people could talk about was Alec Baldwin and this thing. Which, by the way, I wonder if this Rust movie will ever be remade, or is it cursed? Do you think that they will ever try? I don't know. And then Bill McGonigal says he was the one who took her life. Yeah, that's the thing, though. But in normal movies, think about it. If you're just an actor, you're on set, and then somebody comes up and they're the prop manager. Their whole job is to make sure it's safe, that it's a blank, all of this, puts it in your hand, and then they say, what would he supposedly do? Do a warning shot, fire something up into the ceiling to make sure it's a blank? I guess that's why... Again, now people are surprised that he is actually going to be charged with something. We don't know yet what. And then Dex, do you want to talk about France? Gripped by strikes over Macron's pension reform plan, which I believe we're going to see a lot more of this. Obviously somebody commented a second ago that if we hit our debt limit or whatever, that certain things like Social Security and retirement plans and all sorts of things could be affected if they don't actually fix this. As far as a lot of people believe that Social Security and all these other things are going to collapse, and welfare system and all sorts of other things that people depend on right now, they think that it is going to go by the wayside. As far as this goes, they're making changes and people are pissed off. Dex, do you want to cover this?
Yeah, they're actually Macron came out and presented a change to their retirement and pension programs for them. They were raising the retirement age from 62 to 64, along with some other key things that everybody's upset about. Now, if you can look at this picture, that's a lot of people. This isn't, just a bunch of people on the side of the building, holding signs and having a protest. This is massive. It's not really being covered that well. They have had these before. We have seen these before. There was actually one maybe a few weeks ago for a different topic. I don't remember what it is. And it had a lot of people out in the streets. And again, they're coming out in full force. So this was huge. There was a lot of protesters out, and they, suggest anywhere from they had prepared for like 500,000 protesters. They had somewhere like 50 to 80,000 in the capital there. And so in France, kind of a big deal at the moment, but we'll see what happens with it. But at the, you can imagine if you have to work an extra 2 years, or you got to wait another 2 years before you get your pension that you were promised to get, that could upset quite a few people. I get it. On one hand, people are supposedly living longer, so they have to make some adjustments to those types of things. But at the end of the day, this is their money, and they're the people, so they're upset.
Recalcitrant said photoshopped. Well, the one thing I did look into this before, and there are a lot of Twitter videos of this event, and you could see people for as far as you could see. But you know, again, when somebody claims a photo is photoshopped, it could be. You never know nowadays, especially with how many different things have already happened here. Here it was reverse. If it was a Donald rally, they would show purposely. They would go 8 miles away and show a parking lot with 3 dudes sitting in foldable chairs and be like, "This is the rally." When in reality, it was like this. Anybody that went knew. I mean, it was. Some people had kind of crazy scenarios where it was so many people they almost got trampled. This looks, and if this is true, there's multiple angles of it that have come out. Unless they're all photoshopped, then there was a lot of people out there and pissed. This could, if they keep changing like this, I'm sure France would get up and do another revolution. But it looks like a lot of people were not happy. And then New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern announces she is resigning in an emotional speech. It says that New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has announced she's resigning. In an emotional address, the Premier revealed that she would step down February 7th and would not contest this year's... Speaking to a New Zealand Labour Party caucus on Thursday, she said, "I know what this job takes, and I know I no longer have enough in the tank to do it justice. It's that simple. I am human. Politicians are human. We give all that we can for as long as we can." Okay, I don't know if this is applying to their country, but here I think the slogan is we give as little as possible to try to get as much as we can. But maybe country by country it differs. And then it's time, and for me, it's time. So who knows what kind of backdoor stuff is going on here, because every politician, if they resign in an emotional thing, probably something else is adding to that. She added that she had taken the decision after months of deliberation and hoped to spend more time with her family following October's... It says a statement from the Prime Minister's office said, "Withholding such a privileged role comes responsibility, including the responsibility to know when you're the right person to lead and also when you're not." So what's really going on here? It says at age 37, she became the youngest female head of government in the world and attracted international praise for her response to the Christchurch mosque shooting in 2019. Her government introduced strict bang-bang legislation following the rare incident, which left 51 people perished. Now, I want to point out, so, by the way, who knows if this is related. Now, if you rewind to that day, it is why this platform is different. It is why if you start a YouTube channel and you have to have 1,000 subscribers to go live from your phone. You know why? Because of that day. That day when that happened, he did it on a GoPro on a brand new channel and it got out all over. I watched that video, unfortunately, and nobody was supposed to. They immediately removed it off of everything. In fact, that was one of the few times when this platform, the big one, YT basically put it so you could not upload anything that was from recent. Or do you remember that, Dex? They actually changed it so you could not upload any, because so many people were re-uploading it and they were trying to delete it off of all of the servers. And after that event, and sadly, Foogle fan members and others sent us the video, and it was before the whole debate of whether it should exist or whether people should watch. And I would have to say it was pretty horrendous. But look at what they were able to accomplish right after that. And they said rare because it is rare, especially there. To have an event like that happen there, and then boom, right away they enact this extremely strict bang-bang law, and it's done. There's a lot of countries that are following suit with this. What's funny is in this Davos meeting where you have 2,500 of the world elites that are all supporting for us to take away these things, they hire 5,000 soldiers with these things to protect them. And every time somebody, is in danger, who do they call? They call somebody with one of these things. The reason why the United States would be such a hard country to tackle, especially if you were to invade us, is not because just our military and the geographic, standpoint of being in this awesome place as far as oceans on both sides. It would also be because of how many bang bangs are here. It's 120 bang bangs per every resident, right? There's a lot of GUNs here. So you don't mess with us. And I bet probably half of them are in Texas, right? But either way, as far as this goes, this is something that this happens on a weekly basis here. There, it was able to change these laws. So I think there's something shady behind closed doors that's going on, but that's just my opinion. It said that they were also led through a tough and fast response to the CV, which transmission rates and overall cases remaining relatively low compared to other developed nations. It says we'll be bringing the very latest updates, blah, blah, blah. So, is there something I'm missing on this? Is there anybody from NZ that knows what is actually going on there? I know occasionally we get people that end up, I know we have viewers in New Zealand. What do you think is going on with this? And is there a local scandal that the world isn't covering? Dex, do you have a comment on it? Do you know of anything else why she would suddenly step down, or maybe pressure because she's not trying to jump on the bandwagon or something, or she already did?
Wow. We know how politics works. If she's stepping down, somebody's encouraging her to step down, and there's a reason for it. So we don't know what that is, and I think that's the question a lot of people are asking.
Yeah. So, yeah, as far as it wasn't that she was depressed last night. She's like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I just don't think it was that. I think that she really, something's going on there. And then, go ahead, Dex.
Well, and she's young. They just praised her for being one of the youngest. And so it's saying she doesn't have any left in the tank. I'd get that if it was our administration coming out saying he doesn't have anything left in the tank. We'd all be like, yeah, no kidding. Right. But, that doesn't seem right. So I think that's just, obviously it's an excuse. It's just a reason they have to have something to say publicly. But the truth is hidden behind closed doors. And we'll probably hear some interesting stories about it in the coming year.
Somebody said that they were incredibly locked down. And I wonder, would there be like a Nuremberg kind of thing going on? Somebody said that all of the leaders are stepping down or going to bounce out or whatever. Another thing to think about is, she is 37, so she's young, and it's like, what is she going to do after this? What is her job now? Is her career over? It's kind of odd. And then the new nuke-sniffing jet flies off of South America. Before I do that, I just want to remind you guys, we, as far as having stuff left in our tank, we have had so many issues since, in fact, NZ, that event, totally screwed up all sorts of things on platforms everywhere. We have had so many issues over the years. It's like a roller coaster to do what we do. I appreciate everybody that supports us. We are completely independent, and we have done so over 4 years now, almost 5, being able to do it without a multi-channel network to put us back on if we get knocked off, to do it without a multi-billion-dollar corporation behind us, to do it without any help besides the Marfoogle family and our mods. So if you do want to help support us in a financial way, what we suggest is looking at any of our affiliates that you actually need. If it's something that you are already planning on doing, that would be a great way to not only get a discount on those things, but also to help our channel at the same time. That's why I think that affiliates are a win-win as long as you want those affiliates. I don't want to sell you something you don't need or don't want. As far as this goes, this is one of the most affordable plans for the actual freeze-dried, long shelf life food. You can get a 25-year shelf life package of food in any kind of denomination, as far as you can get a week, you can get 2 weeks, you can get a month, you can get 3 months. In fact, the 3 months is now $200 off, and I will tell you the 1 month being $100 off is actually, even if you bought 3 of those, you'd actually, I think, be a little bit better off than the 3 month. So really fantastic deal on that. Make sure to go do that, because not only are you saving money, you are also giving us a commission, then that helps us. We are, again, independent. So this is really, really great. I love that it is affordable. Some of their competitors can range up to $2,000 for a 3-month plan of food. This is, with this discount, a little bit under $600 or right at $600. So if you break that up into 3 months or a month and a half for 2 people, or again, that it's pretty amazing as far as what's going on, or a month for 3 people. Awesome plan. Marfooglenews.com/prep. They also have iodine tablets if you're at all worried about that. And then, of course, water purification from Alexapure. All right, and then Dex, do you want to cover the nuke sniffing jet? If you want my opinion too, I also did a short shareable video over on Marfoogle News.
Yeah, this is rather interesting. So they're setting up and basically mapping out to determine a new pattern or new path of nuke detection. And so this has taken off on its first mission across South America. I think the important thing for us to think about here is not necessarily the technology. The technology we've had, we do this all over the place. As far as, doing this type of nuke detection and making sure I think they go through and they map out and get a baseline reading, and then they start doing ongoing readings from then on so they can determine if there's any fluctuations or changes. I don't know the scientific technology that they're using to test for these types of radioactive devices, but that's what it does. So this is one of the first ACONUSs or outside the continental United States deployments for the number 836, which is the type of plane they're using that does this detection. I think the important thing for us to think about is who are some of the allies down there with our adversaries. Which countries have we seen? I recall we covered here numerous times when the stuff was going on in Venezuela about Vlad moving and putting in nuclear capable bombers there on the runways, and those were just a short flight, like 30-minute flight to Miami, so to speak, as far as the speed at which they can travel. There was we've got other things like the I country is now putting ships in the Panama Canal, and that's an issue. And then we also have other countries down there where we need to be paying attention to with what maybe Xi has been doing, because he's been doing a lot of negotiations with financing, putting in ports, giving deals that these countries can't really afford, and then swooping in and taking over and claiming, access or installations that are for his benefit or their country's benefit. So I think we need to pay attention to that. I think that's why we're looking here. It's not because they're worried about, the cartel being, nuclear capable. They're really paying attention here because they think something's probably going on with anybody that is aligning with our adversaries.
Yeah, there are so many kind of side things going on in the big picture that you really have to keep track of a lot. By the way, thank you, Rip Curl, CJ Blaze. Thank you for being here, and thank you for modding. I think Ilea was here. She had some stuff going on, and I know she waited until somebody else could come. Thank you so much for doing that. Skipper Keith Philo, Truth Iris, it's Jay Thomas Fuentes. The beautiful things in life bring joy, hope, and love. That's true. Kenny Crowder, hey, one of my oldest subscribers. I think number 5 or 8. I still can't figure it out. Life is better on stilts. Hey, it's nice to see you. Sherry Walder, Luthamus, Blowtorch Barbie. And then, of course, we have Charles B, One Out B, and Big Fish. Thank you, everybody. It's J562. Let's see here. Diane Thomas, Shastina, and Joshua Tree TV. Nice to see you as well. All right, and then moving on, FBI chief says he's deeply concerned by China's AI program. So this is Christopher Wray said that Thursday that he was deeply concerned about the Chinese government's artificial intelligence program, asserting that it was not constrained by the rule of law, essentially saying that they are doing some illegal things with it. Speaking during a panel session at the Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, Wray said that Beijing's AI ambitions were built on top of massive troves of intellectual property and sensitive data that they've stolen over the years. So what's weird is there's like this fine line between like what the internet's been saying for a long time and then what's actually being said there is kind of verifying things that we've said, and it makes you wonder like, oh, are these the good guys? They're actually talking about the same stuff we are. Or is it because this is the public stuff that gets out and they're like giving us some verifications so they can continue doing it? I don't know. As far as the data collection, including DNA, as far as, all of those things, I still don't trust those as far as I haven't done a DNA thing, but I know plenty of people that have done it, and I don't blame you if you did it, especially if you didn't know before. But a lot of these things where you go and do your DNA, it's like that info then can be grabbed and be used against you. And people don't really care. They're like, oh, who cares if they know where I'm from or what I am? It's the fact that they can actually design things based on where, what your makeup is and all of that. We discovered this just a few months before CV started, that China was working on these kind of things. They got caught and called out for it as far as, making these bioweapons. These things are scary. Think about if only one sort of person or one sort of people just disappeared. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about is possible with this new study. So as far as this goes, it's really, I don't know if it's, if they cover it and they say it at the Davos, everybody's going to believe the opposite. Maybe they know that, and maybe that's why they're saying it. I don't know. But it is more verification there, concerned about it. As far as some of the other speeches, there's a ton of them. And if you can see it, if we can see it, then it's one that they wanted us to see. There is no backdoor meeting that's posted up on YouTube at the Davos. There's all like the clips of like Al Gore talking at what looks like a conference, right? But there's not the behind the closed doors meeting with the most powerful people in the world. Those were all done at probably dinners and fancy things that absolutely nobody could go in, and soldiers probably even stayed outside. So I just wonder what's happening here. And with everything that Xi is involved in, it's been raising up, and a lot of people are not seeing it. Go ahead, Dex.
Well, just think about like some of the AI tech that we deal with as ourselves that we have access to, like making an image or using Chat GPT. The tech that they have behind the scenes, and even our own government or our own tech groups here, big tech companies here, is far more advanced. Okay, so if they're one of the leaders, and that's what everybody keeps saying is they're the leader, they probably have the capability to make any video, make any audio, make anything look real by using AI. Not just using AI to do other, there's probably a dozen other things they could do, but imagine if they could pick up the phone and call, a military official and talk to them and sound exactly like Mark Milley, right? Or impersonate him in a way, or impersonate, any type of information communication that's going on. That's the type of stuff that can take it to the next level when they talk about the espionage and the taking of our secrets and getting information. We saw it with simplified things like just sending an email saying we're writing, I'm writing this and we're writing that for your, we need research to write this report on XYZ. And then somebody would offer up all the information, not realizing they're sending it to a wrong email address because they got phished, right? That we've seen that kind of simple stuff happen. But imagine when they take it to the next level. Imagine when they take this tech that they have and they can, supercharge their espionage business as if they haven't already done it well enough against us, because they pretty much have taken everything we've ever done.
Yeah, and then with add in TikTok and all of the other ways, DJI and Huawei when it was still running, and all of the phone apps that they have that people have, voluntarily on their phone. Jammer said that the Davos was streamed live every day. Yeah, there's parts of it you would see, and of course you wouldn't see the, 700 world leaders and CEOs all at the same time. Well, those main stages were it's kind of like going to I don't know what to compare it, like a bumper shoot. I don't know if you guys have, I think bumper shoot goes all over the place, but bumper shoot's this concert here where you have multiple stages and you walk around and you can go see different people play at the same time. It's kind of like that, where you had Al Gore and what's his face here, and if Elon went, would have had Elon and somebody on this stage, stage blue and stage red and all of this. But at the same time, we know that they had these multiple, classy dinners that they went to. They had hotel meetings in lobbies that nobody got to see. There were meetings in office buildings where they had big groups of people leave. And we only know this from rumors and speculation, but there were groups that were taken out in these extremely incredible vans that have like each seat is like a recliner chair with TVs. Those ones that you see in the concept magazines and you click on it and it's not a real car, it's like a concept. That's the kind of stuff that they were getting ferried around in. So I just wonder what was happening behind the closed doors. They definitely made decisions there that we won't know the outcome until it happens to us. So have your head on a swivel, not even so much as well for a disaster, but for things to rapidly change around us. Everything we have talked about is going to come true at some point as far as like the changes they say they're going to do. These are things they're implementing already. Talking about changing how we eat food and how farming works and how money works and currency and everything else. They're trying to go all digital. They're trying to get us on crickets. They're trying to get rid of meat. They're trying to get us into fake meat. They're trying to get everything changed, and they want us to live close to everything in our 15-minute cities. They want to reduce all of these things, but they don't tell you up front is if they really do these things, how much it's going to change your day-to-day life. We don't matter to them. Our lives don't matter. And guess what? This does not affect them. Any rule that they put into play, you think, well, then they would be affecting themselves. No, they would not. We're talking about a level of people that have private jets that go everywhere on their private jets. It's not going to affect them. It's not going to affect them in their castles. And they will make sure to make clauses and loopholes. There's going to be loopholes in all of this that they will only know about. That is my opinion. What is yours? Let me know in the comments down below. Kimberly Witcher, what is going on? So Kimberly Witcher, I believe that was, and I'm not saying it's debunked by like a fact checker because the fact checkers are always full of crap, but I don't believe that's a true thing. I know the woman said it, but I think she even corrected it. I believe that's probably happened in secret, but I don't think that's I want to say that was somehow proven wrong, but not by like Snopes. If Snopes says it's fake, I'm like, oh, okay, I believe it. Bones, thank you for being here, man. I've been shouting out your other ventures here. If you guys haven't already, make sure to go to the very top name on marfooglenews.com/friends. Bones has been a busy man, and he's also had some brush-ins with not being so healthy. So make sure to go pray for Bones and also follow him on all of his different platforms. Make sure to follow Chance, CJ Blaze, Jammer One, Lisa R. Hall, Rip Curl Readiness, who is also here tonight. Lisa R. Hall, sweetest woman ever. Rip Curl Readiness, RJL Harris, Ilea, such a funny person. Does great videos. Trinity Red or Blue Pill, Hi Ho Kermit the Frog here. Spends so much time editing her videos. And then, of course, Wages World. Of course, all of you know him. Big creator on YouTube. Thank you so much for being a part of our family. All right. And then we have Air Force moves the F-16s from Europe to Japan. Dex, do you want to go over this? They've heard my opinion on this, and I do have something to chime in on this after.
Sure. This is so they are doing a lot of preparation over in the Pacific. We've talked about what they were doing in Guam. We've talked about the installations they were installing in Japan. We've talked about the ships that have been moving and the patrols that we've been doing closer and closer, obviously spending a lot of time in the South China Sea. So this is on one hand, they're removing some older F-15s, but they're replacing them with more modern, not that much more modern, but one generation modern F-16s, and they're taking them from the European theater. They're taking them out of there. So they're calling it a temporary move. I don't know if it's really temporary, but that's at least what they're saying for now. But here's the thing I would suggest. It's not a signal to say that, hey, everything's getting better in Europe. We don't need these planes. Don't kid yourself. NATO has something like 13,000 military aircraft in it, according to Statistica, and for 2022. So that's a lot, and that's U.S. Supplied. So there's plenty of F-35s and the whole gamut of military aircraft that we have over there. So it's not like this is a sign that says, oh, we're done in Europe. We're sending everything to Japan. That's not the case at all. But what it is saying, hey, they need to move some stuff over, and they need to move it because they need to beef up what's going on in the Pacific theater. And think, as we have been suggesting, others have called in and suggested, it seems like a lot of the military equipment movements that we're seeing are really pre-positioning of what may be coming down the future. And absolutely, that's what they would do, unless they're caught, off guard. If they think something's going to happen, they're going to move their equipment there. So this investment that we're making in the Pacific should be an obvious position to take, given the fact that we are saying we're going to defend Taiwan against China if they actually do an invasion, which I think that's inevitable. They've said it's inevitable. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when.
And great comment. It went by so fast. Somebody said, what was it? Was it, oh, geez. Who was that just said it? Once I see their name again, I'll remember. It started with a T. Said that this is how the theater was built up in World War II. It's history repeating itself. It's really simple to see. Once you see the pattern of all of the countries, even Finland and Sweden, their defense people and their defense chiefs were meeting in this last meeting. Things are about to go down. And for the longest time, I was afraid of giving my opinion on this, because so many people are just so rude about, if you say that World War is coming, they treat you like crap. But it's something that it's like Japan is obviously preparing for a war. It's very, 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 very simple to see. It's not, I don't think anybody has to be a genius here. They actually have to be smarter than the average bear and stop listening to what the mainstream is repeating repetitively in your ear. Everything is okay. Everything is okay. It's not okay. That also doesn't mean that you get depressed and hide in a hole and go live in a dirt, a dirt bin. Gary Stoven says, Marf, you chose a really cool name for your dog. Love your shows. Yeah, my buddy Gary. I didn't choose it though. At the time, I believe she was 4. She picked it, and he literally is Gary now. He's just Gary. Carol McLean, thank you so much. Love the super sticker there. Kenny Crowder, hey Adam, Dex, Mods, and Foogle fam, happy to see you all. Keep safe and prep. Love your way. Well, thank you, Kenny Crowder, and appreciate it again. Dex, go ahead. You had something more to add to the Air Force?
I was just going to say it was Truth Iris is the name you were looking for.
Yes, Truth Iris said that. And as far as, the thing is we can see the same things happening. Everybody is complaining about all this money and gear we're sending over there. I think the gentleman who's currently serving National Guard, who called in last night, again, thank you for your service, Dan, I believe it was. Dan, I think, is right. I think they're loading up UKR with all of this gear, everything else, and then we will eventually replace the UKR soldiers. This is going to be a conflict. And who knows? Vlad might be in on it. Both Vlads, right? Vlad and Vlad. But again, they have their ivory castles at the end of the day. We don't. Let's see here. Over on DLive, thank you everybody that is keeping that family alive over there. Thank you, Chance Paladin. Thank you for modding, and thank you for taking care of the crew, along with Jammer and Yobi, Michigan Travis. Thank you. Kimbria. And, of course, Off the Cuff News, it's J562. And Gary Clark, MMMDDD. AI witches mess with your dreams at night. Repeat every word from space. Mark Davis. Diff to fight in East and West at the same time. Difficult to fight in the East and the West at the same time. Mark Davis, every war game where they've shown us fight Russia and China at the same time, we end up losing. And then look at this right where we're at right now. Not only are we have no more credit, we've already done these crazy budgets and everything else. We definitely have a huge GDP and a huge amount of money into our military. We have one of the most advanced militaries, and we probably have stuff that nobody else does. But there's something to be said about when, if something could happen, an event, like a cyber event, like 93% of the cyber experts are saying, if something like that happens, it could definitely set us back into the dark ages. Not only that, what I was pointing out earlier about how many bang bangs everybody has per resident here in the U.S., wouldn't it make sense if you made us go to civil conflict with each other before you tried to take us over? Wouldn't it make sense if you had the power to tweak somebody's culture to the point where they're fighting with each other? It's called divide and conquer. Wouldn't that be something you would do? I think that a lot of the culture wars going on right now is artificially pushed, and somebody's pockets are getting paved to try to get us to do these. Everything that goes against our moral grains is being pushed right now, and it's so obvious that it's just in the last few years, like, being pushed hard. Things you said 5-6 years ago are now, they would get you canceled. All of life, all of humans up until about 5 years ago, and then if you said the same thing, now you're canceled and you can't get a job, or if they see that on your social media, you're not getting a job. Like, this is nuts. Things are changing rapidly, and people don't see it. People want to deny it. People want to think everything's okay, and they do it under the guise that, oh, people have been saying it's the end for 200, 300,000 years, you know. But this isn't the end. This is the next circle of enslavement. Putin tells Russian workers they are making more missiles than the U.S. Dex, isn't this funny? Because everybody else is saying that they're out and they have enough missiles for, I don't know, 2 or 3 more attacks. And that was like, I think 5 or 6 attacks ago. And then before that, they said 2 or 3 attacks. And that was like 5 attacks before that.
Yeah, it's crazy statistics here. But he basically said, quote, he was talking to the people in the factory that were making them. He says, for example, we produce 3 times more anti-aircraft missiles produced by your Abakov plant per year than the United States does. I don't know what those stats are specifically. I know that, you know, we've covered Raytheon just putting out an ungodly number of missiles. I don't know if they were specifically anti-aircraft, but they were a lot, where they had lined up the semi trucks like for miles, and they were just backlogged. They were doing all this processing out in the parking lots, trying to get them loaded and get them out. So we certainly have one heck of a military industrial complex there that can churn out some equipment. So if he thinks he can make more than we're making, or they are making more than we're making, then we're either in a very slow period and nothing's happening over here, which I can't imagine, because it seems like we're just donating so much equipment, and we're donating or other countries are donating it with the expectation to buy new equipment from us, that I can't imagine that we're just sitting back with our heels up and watching TV and not making any equipment for those rich military industrial complex owners. So, you know, yeah, I think it's just total ganda on his part, probably to make his workers in the factory, you know, feel good about themselves. But it does go back to the point you made, you know, is this, contrary to what they're telling us, like, oh, they're out of missiles. But I will go back to the story we talked about a couple of days ago that suggested that they had shifted away from using cruise and using their S-300, S-400, which are anti-aircraft missiles, that they were using those to target ground locations. And if that's the case, this is exactly what he's talking about. He's talking about anti-aircraft missiles. So, take it all with a giant grain of salt. Of course, this is, I think it's UKR reporting this, but it's a quote from him. So from Vlad. So we'll pay attention, but I don't, to me, it's just giant.
I just say what makes more sense though. Think about it. When mainstream media is shoving it down your throat that they only have 2 or 3 more attacks, then after 2 or 3 more attacks, they put out articles and everybody syndicates them saying, oh, well, this is because they didn't listen to sanctions and they were actually making, they were still making missiles even though they weren't supposed to. It's war. They said that the sanctions don't matter. They're going to still continue doing whatever. Anyways, that's an excuse for why they were still sending missiles over. Then 3 more attacks later, they say, well, they only have enough for 2 or 3 more attacks. Then after 3 more, they still have it. This is Russia. This is Russia, who has only been a military power or a major power, 1, because of their nukes, and 2, because of their military. Otherwise, it's not like they're the production hub of the world. It's not like everything says made in Russia on the bottom of it. It's not because of that. It's because of their military might and the fact that they have nukes. And not to mention, they were always one of the biggest budgets. Obviously, the U.S. was bigger, but their budget was always half of their GDP was going into military. And you think this whole time, with this thing looming over them, they've never not been our adversary. They knew that if they were to ever go to a world war, it would be with the U.S., the biggest GDP in the world. You think that they weren't making missiles that entire time? And when they were getting old, you think they were retrofitting their nukes but weren't retrofitting their regular missiles? That doesn't make sense. It's common sense to know that they probably have... I mean, you think about how many missiles that Iraq has just by themselves, that we've done the numbers and they've shown you the articles from our side and our intelligence, and they say that they have enough to fight for 30 years, and you're saying that Russia doesn't have that, and in a 10-month war they're out? It doesn't make sense. So unfortunately, it's like it's only the only reason I believe I more believe Vlad is because mainstream media is pushing this unbelievable thing that nobody is really on par with. And then Berlin sets conditions for U.S. on exports of German tanks to a Ukraine source. It says that Germany will send German-made tanks to UKR so long as the United States agrees to do likewise. Well, I'll do it if you do it. If you jump off a bridge with a tank, I'll do it too. A government source in Berlin told Reuters as NATO partners remained out of step over how to best arm UKR in its conflict against Russia. It says UKR has pleaded for modern Western weapons, especially heavy battle tanks, so it can regain momentum following some battlefield successes in the second half 2022 against the Russian forces that invaded last February. Now remember, Russia hasn't even used any of its like high-tech jets over UKR yet. They have not even taken their newest gen jets into and over UKR. They have sent the 3,000 tanks, this big number of tanks that they said that we already took. Those tanks that they overtook are most all of their old tanks that might have even seen time in World War II. So as far as like, they haven't even really seen all of the good stuff yet. And now we are giving the good stuff to UKR. So things are obviously about to escalate. I don't see how all of NATO is sending them this gear and something more isn't about to happen. It says Berlin has veto power over any decision to export its Leopard tanks fielded by NATO allied armies across Europe and as seen by defense experts as the most suitable for UKR. Now, by the way, they're saying, well, we'll do it if you do it. But everybody's saying the same thing, and they're all sending tanks. Going back to what Dan, the caller, said, the gentleman who's currently serving the National Guard, are we sending all of these NATO equipment? All of the NATO countries are sending their own tanks in. Is that because at some point very soon, we will be manning them? By we, I mean NATO. Several times in recent days, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has stressed behind closed doors the condition that U.S. tanks should also be sent to UKR, the German government source said on condition of anonymity. Says when asked about Germany's stance, U.S. President J.B. Karine Jean-Pierre, the president believes that each country should make their own sovereign decisions on what steps of security assistance and what kinds of equipment they are able to provide UKR. That was my impression of a House representative, the press secretary. Because they package up BS and they just hand it right to you with a bow. On Wednesday, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the United States would provide $125 million to UKR and support its energy and electric grids following targeted attacks on those utilities by Russian forces. Money. And then NATO allies pledge more arms to UKR. Germany holds out on tanks. Dex, do you want to go over this and how we're going back and forth here?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Which article? Because I don't have it on my screen. Say it again.
Oh, maybe you don't have this. So NATO, don't worry about it. I added this last minute. NATO allies pledge more arms for UKR. Germany holds out on the tanks. So we just said that they would do it if we do it. It says Western allies pledge billions of dollars in weapons for UKR on Thursday, and some promise to send tanks as requested if Berlin agrees. But Germany gave no signs of lifting veto on deliveries it fears will provoke Moscow. The issue looks set to dominate Friday's talks in Germany between Western allies at Ramstein, Washington's main European airbase. So they're mentioning this meeting that's going down. And by the way, this meeting with UKR chiefs of defense, or the defense chiefs, this is something that is never happened before as far as all of these chiefs have just met. So whatever happened on the 18th yesterday and today now has concluded. Whatever decisions were made there, we're going to start seeing the reverberations of all of these events happen. So there's going to be a lot of echoing decisions being made right now. I'm not going to go into the they have parts of the Ganda from UKR and their like crazy statements that they said, but you can go over and check that out. And then Dex, I'll send you the link for that. Sorry about that. And then Russian intelligence gathering ship off of Hawaii coast being monitored by the U.S. Coast Guard. Now, I don't want to make something that's not into something that is, but how many times have I mentioned this as far as not only Pearl Harbor 2.0, but also how they surveil before they end up doing something. Japan surveilled Pearl Harbor before they ended up doing some sort of attack. And we even joked about this like 2 weeks ago saying, oh, well, if hopefully we don't see any more Russian surveillance ships off of the coast of Hawaii. And this was all because the previous time this happened, we actually had a call from Justin True, which is also on marfooglenews.com/friends. And he said he was out with his family, and they were actually one of the first people to see one of the Russian military boats. They're just fishing, he was like fishing with his dad or something, or his brother, and all of a sudden they see this big vessel, and they're like, whoa, and there was helicopters, and everybody's like circling it, and they're like, what the heck's going on? They're like, that's a Russian surveillance ship. It's back. And by the way, any one of these weird events, when they've got Navy moved all over the world, they've got drills going on all over the world, we now have multiple warships placed strategically all over the globe, not only the U.S., Russia, and China. Right now, if something was to pop off, it would not be, I guess it would run smoothly on certain sides. It says the U.S. Coast Guard has announced that they have been monitoring a suspicious Russian ship that's been sailing off the coast of Hawaii. The ship is believed to be Russian intelligence vessel, the U.S. Coast Guard said in a statement Wednesday. Dex, do you want to go over this real quick? This is, I guess, how else would you put this in the specter of like what we've been talking about?
Well, with the tensions that are going on, especially in the Pacific, and let's not just think that Russia is only involved in UKR. Remember when we moved certain military equipment in Japan? Remember when Japan made certain assertions on specific islands? Even Russia themselves got upset about it and said, hey, we don't like that. We disagree. You shouldn't do that. Of course, Japan will do what it wants to do. It's their own country. But, there are the Pacific theater is not just about China. It also includes FLAD. And it also, obviously, they're allied. So when we think about our key assets, whether it be obviously Hawaii being one, obviously it was super important for the second great conflict. And we think about Guam and other locations, our midway points. All of those are key to our military having the ability to function across the Pacific. Without them and without the other islands that we have as well, it would be very difficult for us to get across, have enough fuel, have places to refuel, be able to make ship repairs, all those things. So, and obviously we have a very large Navy, so it does rely on all of these islands. So when you think of somebody like one of our biggest adversaries who we're currently in a conflict with, but we won't admit it because we're just basically supplying all the equipment, is sitting there off the coast of one of our key islands for the Pacific, probably the most important island, that's got to be a little troublesome. Now, it's also, you would think that would make a lot of sense because that would be one of the first places you would want to surveil if you were putting yourself in their shoes, so to speak. So these are all just the exact signs you would expect to see as, things continue to escalate and heat up. They're going to want to know what we're doing there, and we're going to see that they're there trying to monitor us, and we're not going to like that.
No, they're not. And we'll follow what ends up happening. Hopefully, maybe we'll even get a call from Justin True one of these days. I'd love to hear from him again. Again, awesome caller. By the way, I saw the comments about Paul Begley shouting us out. Again, we are changing things. The thing is we've had a problem with audio. I don't know if you guys, everybody that's watched the show, we've had this weird issue with every certain intervals, the audio goes all roboto. And then also the stuff, the way that we used to do interviews with people and make it, look nice, that all changed when CV happened and all of these privacy things changed to where you couldn't have different things on Zoom and all of these other platforms change their privacy policy. And that the reason for that was because whoever was holding the Zoom or whatever meeting was able to unmute people. And what happened is a bunch of lawsuits is because people were unmuted while they're at digital work or whatever during CV, and it caught something that, was bad or something, and they got fired. Well, then they ended up suing because they didn't unmute their mic, somebody else did. Well, that ended up changing all the privacy policies of all of these things, so you couldn't unmute somebody. It was just a nightmare. But they also changed it so where it wouldn't show the screen when you were using Streamlabs and OBS and all of these different things. It wouldn't show the person on the screen. It would just be black. If anybody knows the fix to that black screen other than using a different software, I would love to hear it. But we are fixing it because we are going to have guests soon. We have guests lined up. We've had guests lined up, but we didn't have the capability. So we're switching over systems. I have somebody who's actually knowledgeable. I'm not. Be able to come in and do the audio and everything for it. And I'm really excited to do collaborations and really excited to actually have a setup to where we can do that. So I would love to work with Paul and everybody else, all the other people that have been nice enough to shout us out. I appreciate that. So saying hi right back to you, Paul, and we've heard you, of course. Thank you so much. And then defensive missile systems erected on Moscow rooftops. So something's going on here. Kremlin appears to prepare for strikes on Russian capital by installing interception systems. It says missile systems designed to intercept aircraft and incoming missiles appear to have been deployed on top of several defense and administrative buildings in downtown Moscow. Imagine living, just being in, I don't know, downtown LA or something, and the U.S. government starts putting SAM missiles on the roofs of skyscrapers. That's pretty freaky. It says photographs published on social media on Thursday showed a Panzer missile system being installed on the roof of an 8-story building used by the Russian military, the defense ministry, alongside the Moskva River, which, of course, then they just have a bunch of pictures of random people, but the photos are, when you click the blue link, go to the website, marfooglenews.com, and you'll be able to see it. I don't think it loaded right now. So I'll make sure to attach this to the website. Again, Dex, if I don't know if I can't do it while I'm live, but if you could grab the picture that they're talking about, it doesn't show on this. And then Putin ally Medvedev warns NATO of nuclear war if Russia is defeated. You can obviously take this as huge propaganda, basically saying that, okay, yeah, well, if we lose, it's going to be a nuclear war. I'll go into that in just a second. Stephen McMahon, it strikes me that our resources, those of Vlad and those of Xi, are all being taxed to the limit. Designed in advance, ? I don't know, Stephen McMahon, but again, I think ours are being taxed the most, and UKR's is being restored on a daily basis with other people's stuff. And then Zenwen thank you so much. Thank you for stopping by, and thank you for your support and the super sticker. Uncommon News 777, Ricky Cannon, Carol McLean, Matthew Michael, Jane Doe Lette, Nana of Montana. Thank you so much for your support yesterday. And then Be Real Beast, Overcoming Bipolar with Jesus, K. Parker Fraser, Smokey Joe, JJ, Johanna's Adventures, Heath Spear, K. Holmes, Richard Ball, Joanne Morency, and of course, Danish Girl. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Schaefer Girl, also honorable mention, Liz Smith, OG Stoner Time, and Casey 1776, and of course, Blue Boy 1968 Chappie. Thank you guys all for supporting this week. We appreciate you. So, Dex, again, I gave my opinion. If you want my opinion, go over to that short shareable video and share it out with your friends and family over on Marfoogle News. Dex, do you want to cover this for a second? I'm going to switch batteries.
Yeah, my opinion on this is that on one hand, this is one of the first times they're suggesting that they could be defeated. And is that a sign of some foreshadowing that they're saying, or where are they in the position of always saying, hey, we're the strongest, we're going to win, it's not an option. Now they're saying, hey, we might lose, but guess what? If we do, you all lose. Now, certainly that's a negotiation standpoint. It's a position of strength, and that's the whole point of having a nuclear arsenal, is to be able to wield that type of statement and back it up, so to speak. I guess the real question is, would they actually go through with it? That's the $1 million question, or the $1 trillion question, is are they really willing to push that button if they lose? And what is the definition of loss? And what is their definition of pushing that button? I think that it's definitely a position of strength that they're trying to take, at least against NATO, to say, hey, maybe it's time to get to a point of negotiations. But at the same time, I think their position on the negotiations is one that NATO and UKR are never going to accept, which is they want to claim the land. They want to take that eastern portion and some of the southern portion and claim it as Vlad's. So I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon as far as a negotiation standpoint. So it looks like, for all intents and purposes, this conflict will continue, and it'll eventually have it'll probably eventually have two losers. They typically don't have winners when it comes to this type of long drawn out event. Both sides end up taking the greatest loss, and it's usually the civilians and citizens of the countries that have to pay that ultimate price, which is unfortunate. So we'll see.
Yeah, the ultimate price indeed. Meet their maker. Musk says President B may try to weaponize government against Twitter if T-Man returns. So, by the way, Donald has been allowed to be on Twitter for months now, but because Donald T-Man has invested in his own Truth Social, he said, no, I'm good. I said I would never come back, and I won't. But that's just stupid. If he was going to run again, he is, of course, going to probably come back. Well, now there's all this talk, and now Elon is setting us up for, here comes the big bad government, which I believe. I believe he's saying the truth. Maybe this is because maybe this is all set up to be hit, home run for the government to then censor all of everything that's being said. Channels like mine will be even further downgraded. By the way, I just want to point out, somebody, mentioning Paul Begley. Paul Begley is at like 361,000 subscribers. He's been in that 300s for years. It's so crazy because your channel, no matter what, if you're not marked by anything, it just grows exponentially, even if it's a little bit slower. You immediately see when you're stopped. And one thing, that New Zealand thing, and back then they started doing, and recently, they stopped showing you the exact count. You remember when people used to have their subscriber count right behind them and it showed the exact number? Well, now in the metrics, it just says the 1,000. So it's like, this now says we're at 193,000. but you don't know what it is. Is it 193,505? You don't know. And that's because you can't watch a channel being held back. You just see it jump to the next 1,000, but you can't see the little ones, and you can't see every person that joins and subscribes. That's what I think. It was easier for them to hide that people are not getting subscribers or that they're getting taken away. Because it's crazy to me that we get 2,000 new people a day and we lose like 2,000 or 1,980 or something. I know we have a lot of people that have been sticking around for a very long time, but there's things like this, that this is just where we're at now. Where we're headed with all of this censorship, you have no idea. A couple years ago, before all of these, midterms and all these different events that happen, you saw really, really big people just get knocked off. BP Earthwatch had almost 500,000 or over 500,000, boom, like that, because he said the wrong thing. That's terrifying. And I think it's only going to get worse. And this is what I predict in 2022, that 2023 is going to be a year where it really steps up. So I'm just going to use this reminder. Go over and sign up for our email list. Again, to stay in touch with us, go over to marfooglenews.com and sign up for not only the email alerts, but also subscribe to our notifications. That will tell you when we go live. That will also tell you if we're going over on Rumble, over on DLive, or on any other platform. It's all going to be through that system. So there's two different things there. There's notifications you can get through your browser, and there's also the email list. The email list, you can literally do a Proton Mail email, whatever way you want to do. You can do a anonymous email to sign up for it. Get over on that email list, though, because you will definitely need to have that, I believe, this year. So let's see here. As far as Musk, that's not good to hear. And I believe he is going to return to Twitter. As far as T-Man says, Elon Musk said that he believes the administration might try to weaponize. Might? I don't think so. Try to weaponize federal agencies against Twitter if former Prez returns to the platform. Musk made the comment on Wednesday in a reply to a tweet from another user who reported that T-Man is planning to do so after his account was restored. Why I said it would be stupid not to is he has over 80 million people on there. Or it's over. How many followers does Trump have on Twitter? Isn't it over 80 million? Right? It's up there. I mean, I think with the top, he's in like the top 10 of followers on Twitter. So it would be stupid not to go over there and to reach that audience, especially on an instant basis. If he puts something out, it's instantly acquired. They really wouldn't be able to stop him. It wouldn't matter if the mainstream media covered his speeches, because if he links it right there, people can just watch it instantly. I don't think that they want that. But who knows? T-Man and everybody else, all these people could be in on one big circus, and it could be just to screw us all over. It says, will be interesting to see how the B administration reacts to this. They may try to weaponize federal agencies against Twitter, Musk posted. So again, a lot of people look at this and they go, well, he's rooting for he's a good guy. Jury's still out on that. He's doing Neuralink. He's doing AI. He's digging tunnels, SpaceX, all of the different ways he's connected. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Dex, do you want to talk about that? And then actually, before we go any further, I do want to remind you, if you haven't already, make sure to go over and check out Energy. This is one of the most badass systems for solar generators that you can get on the market. I believe it is the best. In fact, its closest competitor has huge, crazy wires if you want to be able to expand it. This is a modular system, which means that if you want one battery, you can do that. If you want 5, you can stack them like Legos, and the input and the output is on the top and the bottom, and you can literally sandwich them together, and they click and lock, so you can even take it with you. As far as it can be expanded up to 96 batteries. This is the Flex 1500 that I have, and I'll be reviewing shortly. This is a way to literally replace replace power. I mean, think about it. If you lose your power, everybody's been there in that position. It's not fun, especially if you're in a storm or if you are in a disaster. It's definitely one of the number one things people should have. As far as why you should do this one is because of how it's made, the quality of it, and the technology inside. These are very coveted. You can tell how hot these things are because the wait list. There is literally a wait list almost since we began with them. Now it's going on years. So the wait list has ranged from a couple weeks to 6 months. I waited 6 months for mine. Now it is much lower. They're about to get another shipment of lithium here pretty soon. So once they do, they make the product and they ship it out. The X2 is much more attainable. This is an all built-in-one system, and it has the new lithium iron phosphate system. As far as the system in this cannot be expanded, but it can be dual linked. So if you need more power, you can actually double the output by dual linking two systems together. This is more really great for just if you want one unit to do it all, and if you're a van lifer or somebody who's constantly travels in an RV. Again, this is a great system for that as well. Both are great, and they also have the LT, which is a smaller unit. These are all amazing products. I believe that anybody that gets this is not going to regret it, and you are actually going to thank us, especially when you lose your power for the first time. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy, not only to get a discount, but also to help us at the same time. We're independent. We don't have any backup. You guys are the ones who really keep this going. And more so than any affiliate or any donation, make sure to share our stuff out, like button, and do a comment. Do that for all the channels you use on a daily basis. Not only mine, but everybody else. If you're going to their channel and spending time, return the favor if you're not doing any of the other stuff. More importantly than anything is sharing it out. And of course, doing the trying to get us out there, and that really, really helps more than anything. marfooglenews.com/energy. All right, and then Dex, do you want to talk about the Vladian arrested in Miami on charges of illegally transmitting millions in cryptocurrency?
Well, apparently, this person has ties also with Xi's country. It's a G-backed crypto exchange, and I want to say it was out of Hong Kong. But what's interesting is, they're getting him for specifically for not or failing to maintain anti-money laundering programs. But it just makes you think about some of the stuff that we've seen going down with Sam Bankman-Fried, and the FTX exchange, and a lot of the theories that have gone around related to funds, moving of funds, getting around sanctions, laundering, moving money into and out of potentially UKR, lining pockets of other people. It very well could be that this person, because of the fact that they weren't maintaining the anti-laundering programs, basically require that they know who the actual users are. They have to actually identify them if they use more than a couple $1,000s. They have to provide proof of identity. They have to know what country they live in, et cetera, so they can maintain records. So him not doing that is the reason they're going after him. But a lot of times when the feds go after people, they go after them on technicalities so they can lock them up. But there's probably something else going on behind the scenes here. So when we look at this, it's kind of interesting, and we just think about what potentially could be going on here, especially with the ties to Vlad, the ties to Xi, and the fact that Vlad specifically is sanctioned, and moving money and funds around in and out is very difficult, and crypto offers a way for that to happen. Yeah. Not saying that that's what this guy did, but
no,
it could be, because they're not telling us all the details.
No, and that's probably because this is being used to leverage something, or something is going on here. But the main founder, the majority owner, it says he also managed from Miami over the past year, was arrested Tuesday night at a family home in the Miami-Dade area. Why is it always Florida? It's always Florida man. Florida man gets arrested, even if it's a Russian who owns a Chinese-based this or that. It's Florida man. It's just always Florida man. And this is not going to get too much lip service in mainstream media. It's also not going to be talked about at your water cooler at work tomorrow, but it should be. BlackRock, okay? Just so you know, the GDP of the United States sits here. Then it goes China. Then instead of another country, it goes BlackRock. BlackRock has more money than all of the countries underneath combined. So Japan, Russia, all of them combined, other than the China and the U.S. BlackRock has a lot of money. BlackRock was also involved in all three versions of the and BlackRock has been involved in almost everything that has changed our lives. And they are saying that the world's largest asset manager says central banks are deliberately causing recessions, warns of a downturn unlike any other. 3 shock-proof assets to consider. So, by the way, this is a big claim, Dex. Why would they even say this? This is not very professional for them to say, is it? I mean, this is like saying they're purposely causing a recession.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I was kind of shocked at the statement, and I'm wondering what's going on. You know, a lot of people have speculated that there's, you know, a couple of or various factions in these elites that have different interests and different potential ideals of what should be happening, whether it's, you know, globalization or doing something different with a globalized economy, et cetera. It just makes me wonder if some of these, if this isn't a little bit of the exposure of differencing of opinions between central bankers and some of those that aren't central, like the Black Rock. So we'll. That's what I thought, but I was spot on, and I was like, wow, they said that. That doesn't make much sense.
And what's terrifying is what they are predicting is a recession like no one has ever seen. I mean, a recession like nobody's ever seen is more of a depression, and that's like, you know, we're going back to the 30s. That's just not good. This is why a lot of people are getting into metals. This is why other people are getting into crypto. This is why people are getting into all sorts of diversifying, because it's something that people need to start paying attention to. And then China says critical CV cases have peaked as holiday travel surges. Mind you, just stepping back, I felt like there was a bunch of BS through all of this, but we're going through deja vu again. It says that the number of CV patients needing critical care in China's hospital has peaked, health authorities said on Thursday, as millions traveled across the country for long-awaited reunions with families, raising fears of fresh outbreaks. There's been a widespread skepticism over Xi's official CV data because it abruptly axed anti-V controls last month that had shielded Xi's 1.4 billion people from the disease for 3 years. Again, they were on straight up lockdown status until just now. And now they just dropped it completely. No more barbed wire in the hallways. No more green code to go to the bathroom. You're talking about just everything's gone overnight because of these people with white paper. It doesn't make sense knowing how strict they normally are. They don't care if you get out there with your white piece of paper and protest. I don't think they were afraid of getting taken over or a coup. I think that's what it was made to look like. That's just my personal opinion. And then they publicly say that last Saturday that nearly 60,000 people with the CIV have passed in hospitals between December 8th and January 12th. Why are they even telling us that? They are tight-lipped about everything. However, that number excludes those who perish at home, and some doctors in Xi have said that it's discouraged from putting CV on death certificates. What is actually happening here? I don't know. You guys can speculate all you want. I think that it's looking like they're getting it in the back of our head. It's always on the back page, all of these updates, and it slowly creeps up on you. I hope that instead of a world conflict, all of a sudden another catastrophic thing happens, and then boom, the world's in this circle again, and then there's 1,000 more medical billionaires all of a sudden. Go ahead. And by the way, the big businesses did so well through that. Who was open and who was closed? It wasn't ma and pa shops. It wasn't the hair salons. It was the big Target, Fred Meyer, all of the big guys who made even more money. Go ahead, Dex.
Well, a couple things. One, they're saying it's peaked, so I'm hoping that means that they're seeing that it's actually coming down. That means it would have, if it peaked, that means they have numbers that are less, so they can say there was a peak. Otherwise, it would still be climbing. Number two, in 2 days, well, 3 days, depending on what time zone you're in, the new year starts for them. I think it's the year of the rabbit, I believe. I can't remember, but that's a 15-day long celebration, and pretty much it's like a good 20 days of nothing happens there, as far as production and shipments and orders and all that stuff. So I know a lot of companies that manufacture there will have to plan around when the Chinese New Year is because of that fact. There's a big shutdown. Also means it's a big travel period. So that's why they're saying, they're coming up to the peak travel surge, which should be starting in the next couple days.
And if any of the stuff that's out there is right and says that there's this new mutated one that affects your brain and does all this crazy stuff, and then they're about to send millions out to travel all around the world, obviously you could see how that could tee up a 2.0 situation. So we've got two different 2.0s that are possible here. That's why we're letting you know. Just keep your heads on a swivel. Get some extra stuff every time, just a little bit. Just get a little extra stuff every time you go to the store. Non-perishables. Get extra waters. Don't go too nuts. I believe you have time, at least a few months, if this were to happen. I hope that that's not the scenario. But if you look at what's happening in the satellite photos of crematoriums overwhelmed, it's like they're purposely trying to hide it, but maybe that's the 4D chess, so it makes you think they're trying to hide it, but it's really happening, or that it's not happening, and they were trying to make you think it's, you know what I mean. It's a circle. By the way, make sure to go over and also check out marfugglenews.com/EMP. This is a good way to protect yourself against EMP. You can actually put these in your car, and it will protect your car, your trucks, your ATVs, your four-wheelers, even your home and your ham radios, and even your generator. They actually make a custom EMP shield for your Flex 1500. Go to marfugglenews.com/EMP. This can be wired into a car in less than 15 minutes by a complete non-mechanic, amateur as it gets kind of person. It's very easy to put in, and it takes almost no time to do. And that way you can get home after an EMP or a CME, or you could bug out if you are trying to get out. Either way, you might need a running vehicle. So make sure to also go check out all of the other devices. They are the same company that's been used by agencies like DHS, DOD, and of course the DEMSO team. All right, and Dex, what's next? Let's go over the web only. We've got a lot of crazy stuff down here.
Absolutely. Head over to marfugglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or on YouTube or Rumble. Open up that description and click on the show notes link. It'll take you right here. You get to the rest of the story. You'll see all the news we just covered, and then you'll see this yellow bar. It's got everything that we call the overflow, where everything else goes. So lots of other news happening there. Some updates around the debt ceiling, specifically what the administration and why they're refusing to negotiate. Apparently the dollar is on a 7-month low now, and the Fed is expected to raise rates. You want to know more about that? It's there. Peter Thiel amazingly timed himself out of the crypto market before the crash. That's kind of interesting because a lot of people were saying I don't know if he had inside information or if he was just smart looking at it, but that's there. Updates in the political spectrum. Some folks, a Pompeo book came out saying that Haley was working to try to become the VP with T-Man, I guess, in the next run, but I don't know if that's necessarily still the case, but we'll find out, I guess, when that day comes. Other updates going on, specifically around the news industry and the media. around that case that was going on, going back to that last T-Man run where everybody is now being sued by this big machine company that counts stuff. There's an update on who they're going after next and who they're talking to. It's Rupert Murdoch. There was apparently another meeting with I think we covered a little bit of this, but there's more updates on it with the CIA director and with Zelensky. What's that, Adam?
Oh, I said they have some serious nerve.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, they do. And look, there's a crazy video, if you haven't seen it, about this, these Boston Dynamic robots. I mean, we've seen crazy ones before, but this one gets even more crazier. So go check this out. This humanoid robot, like, literally looks around, builds a contraption so it could climb up a scaffolding to bring tools to a worker, takes the tool bag, tosses it up, and like flip cups it. If you guys know what flip cup is, if you don't, I'm sorry. Makes it land perfectly in front of them, and then decides to dismount off of the scaffolding with a, like a twisting backflip to look cool. That kind of stuff, humans don't even do. So go take a look if you want to see what Boston Dynamics has been up to with especially this agility with these guys. El Chapo's son is begging to not be extradited. He wants to stay in Mexico. They're talking about putting cows at sea, like literally a dairy farm on a ship, and putting it in the ocean. I guess there's some sort of benefit to doing that. Maybe it's better use of land. But it's a whole, eco-friendly kind of thing. I don't think the ships are running off methane or anything like that. But if you want to know what they got going on there, that's there. They still haven't said what happened to Lisa Marie Presley. They're holding back on what's going on with why she passed, and more. There's a lot more. So go to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show. And if you're on YouTube or Rumble, just open that description and click on the show notes link. It'll take you right here.
And read this piece. What happens if you deposit more than $10,000 in cash in your bank account? You'll get reported. Also, the cows, that's pretty odd. The Mexican president says he'll consider the El Chapo president's or El Chapo request, which is, I want to stay here in Mexico. You know why? Because in the Mexican prison, he's literally got it made. He probably has people serving him food. He's probably got cell guards that come in and fan him. I mean, literally, that's how they have it in there. So, of course, he doesn't want to be extradited. But what's so corrupt about this thing is probably three-letter agencies are playing in with this and letting him do that. They have literally let El Chapo out, they let him out, the son, to basically stop everybody getting, banged out in the streets, or at least that's what they said. So they're so powerful, he gets arrested, they'll release him to prevent, violence, right? Imagine that. Like, imagine getting arrested by the U.S. government and so many people just went nuts that you're like, okay, well, we'll let him out, and just did. That's like if the, Tate's fans or something just went out and caused so much violence, they're like, we'll just let the Tate brothers go. Which, by the way, I thought it was interesting. In Romania, they actually have people protesting for Tate's release. I didn't know that. At least that's what I heard. Anyways, I don't follow it too closely, but I do have this to say. You should be innocent until proven guilty, not the other way around. And I guess I've seen so many people make up things that are just so crazy about me. I know how it feels where if they don't have proof, always ask for proof. If somebody's making claims about somebody, show the proof. I'd love to sift through all the proof they have of these claims. I guess root for the underdog, right? But I guess in this case, the underdog is what most people consider a prick, right? All right, you guys, have a great night. I love you. Thank you, mods. Thank you, everybody. You guys have a wonderful and safe night. Thank you, Zen1AZ. Thank you, all of our supporters tonight. Thank you over on DLive, Gary Stoven, Carol McLean, Kenny Crowder, Uncommon News, and everybody that has popped in. Rip Curl, thank you again for being here. And, of course, Vault Music, thanks for popping in. Red Ox 777, Toucan Sham. What's the best way to contact you regarding collabs? That would be definitely a DM on Twitter. But make sure to put something right in the first message because I have to accept it. Michelle K, thank you. I appreciate you. And everybody else, love you. Dex, thank you so much. Great job.
Much love, brother. Good job.
All right, you guys, it's now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. All right, let's do a fresh one. And today we will be doing it for BOD. BOD is in the hospital right now, so if you can, please put your prayers over to BOD. She is a wonderful woman. They are really good friends. We haven't seen them in a bit because they've been just so busy, but they are always here in spirit with us. And Shan and BOD are two of the most funniest people you ever meet. The funniest couple, that is for dang sure. All right. BOD. BOD. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Boom, boom.